Welcome to our deep dive. It's a tough one, human trafficking and financial crime. You guys sent us a bunch of stuff, LinkedIn posts, news articles. We're going to try to break it down.
Yeah, it's pretty heavy. These two worlds are like overlapping more and
Yeah.
more. It's a big mess. We've got UNODC reports, opinions from law enforcement, financial experts. It's a lot.
Yeah, and you've probably heard about human trafficking increasing. Well, guess what? The UNODC report says it's even worse. And it's changed. It's not just about sex anymore. Forced labor is like the main thing now. It's way up.
Like way up. 47% since the last report.
Wow.
And kids. Don't even get me started. It's bad enough that child trafficking is up by 31%, but for girls, 38% increase. That means 38% of all trafficking victims, children.
Oh my God. It's hard to even imagine that many kids. And where's all the money going? These criminal networks must be making a killing.
Well, that's where money laundering comes in.
Right.
The UNODC report goes into it.
Yeah.
They're using all these crazy schemes to hide the money. Shell companies, cryptocurrency.
So they're cleaning it up, making it look like it came from somewhere else.
Exactly. And they're getting really good at it. One of the worst things is this forced criminality. Basically, they force the victims to commit crimes.
So they're not just exploited for labor, they have to become criminals too.
Yeah, about 8% of trafficking cases now involve that.
That's messed up.
It's a nightmare for law enforcement, too. How do you even prosecute someone who is forced into it?
Yeah, I can see that. And those online scams, they're fueling those big money laundering operations.
Oh,
Right?
absolutely. They take the money from the scams, which is hard to trace, and use it to fund all their other crimes.
It's
It's a terrible cycle.
So organized. And it's not just some small time thing, it's global, right? I saw something on LinkedIn about Interpol seeing this network expanding beyond just Southeast Asia.
Totally. It's worldwide now.
Mm.
And the money, oh man, Interpol Secretary General thinks these guys are making up to $3 trillion a year.
3 trillion. That's insane. That's bigger than a lot of countries. And it's not just the people being trafficked who are victims, right? They're the people who fall for the scams.
Yeah, exactly. They prey on vulnerable people on both sides. The people forced to work in the scam centers and the people getting tricked. It's awful.
So we've got forced labor trafficking on the rise, more kids being exploited than ever, and this huge global money laundering network. What was the worst thing you saw in the UNODC report?
Hmm. Well, they mentioned organized crime using AI now.
AI, like artificial intelligence.
Yeah, to do bad stuff. It's like technology gone wrong.
Wow. What kind of things are they using it for?
Well, like deep fakes. Those videos that look real, but they're fake. They could use them to trick people or ruin someone's reputation.
Ugh, those are so creepy. They're getting harder to spot, too.
Yeah, it's like they're always one step ahead.
Yeah.
But there's this crazy case in the Philippines, a police raid on this huge complex. They found like 900 people from 7 different countries, all forced to work on online scams.
That's just, wow, that's scary. It makes it so real, you know? This isn't just something happening somewhere else. This is a worldwide problem. It's affecting real people. So what can we even do? It seems so huge.
A lot of people are saying we need a bigger, more organized response, like better international cooperation, more resources.
Yeah, that makes sense. Share intelligence, work together.
Exactly. They're even talking about a global task force to fight these crimes, like pooling resources, expertise, all of that.
That's interesting, but how would that even work? It's so complicated.
I know, right? But it's got to start somewhere. Maybe with people from law enforcement, financial institutions, different governments all working together, come up with strategies, share information.
Yeah, okay. So a global effort to stop these networks and bring the criminals to justice. What else are people talking about?
They're saying we need tougher laws too.
Mm-hmm.
Go after the people who are helping these guys with the money, make it harder to launder the cash, and it hurts their profits.
Hit them where it hurts, right? But laws are only good if they're enforced.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And that's where banks and financial institutions come in. They're the ones who have to spot the suspicious stuff.
So they need to get better at recognizing money laundering.
Exactly. They're like the first line of defense. They need the right tools and training to catch these tricky schemes. And of course, technology has a big part to play.
Right. We were just saying how the criminals are using AI. Maybe we need to use it against them.
Exactly. Law enforcement and banks need to be using AI and all that data stuff to track the money, see the patterns. It's kind of like an arms race,
Outsmart the bad guys. But technology can't do everything, can it? We still need humans in the loop.
Oh, totally. We need to focus on prevention, too. Like public education campaigns. Help people understand how trafficking works, what scams look like.
If people know what to look for, they're less likely to get tricked.
Right. Give people the knowledge to protect themselves and their communities. We need to report suspicious stuff and make sure victims get the help they need.
So it's not just about catching the criminals, it's about helping the people who were hurt.
Yeah, it's complicated. There's no easy answer. But if we all work together, across countries, across different areas, we can make a difference.
You mentioned earlier about this idea in the UK for a fraud minister. What's that all about?
Yeah, there are groups like Witch that are pushing for that. They're saying we need someone in charge of fighting scams.
Yeah.
Because right now, it's like nobody cares enough.
Yeah.
But it hurts people and it hurts the economy.
So they're saying fraud is a big deal.
A huge deal. They think a fraud minister would show that the government's taking it seriously. They would have the power to actually do something.
Like it's a national security issue.
Which makes sense when you think about how big this problem is. And these criminals, they're not messing around, they're organized.
So this fraud minister would be in charge of coordinating everything, working with different agencies, the police, banks, everybody.
That's the idea. Come up with a plan, put it into action, and make a real difference.
That's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah, it's a tough job. But somebody's got to do it. Fraud's not going away on its own. It's good that some governments are starting to see how bad it is and are trying to do something.
So maybe there's hope. It sounds like things are moving in the right direction. What do you think about the future of this fight? Are you optimistic?
I don't know. Maybe a little. We're definitely seeing more awareness now. And governments and organizations all over the world are starting to take it more seriously. But we've got a long way to go. We need tougher laws, better enforcement, more cooperation between countries, and most importantly, we need people to get involved.
You keep saying that. What can our listeners actually do to help?
Lots of things. Even small things can make a difference. First of all, learn about this stuff, the signs of trafficking, the common scams. Be careful online. Watch out for suspicious emails and messages.
So be smart, be aware.
Yeah. And if you see something fishy, report it. Don't stay quiet. Your voice matters. You can also support organizations that are fighting this.
Like donating to charities, volunteering, spreading the word.
Exactly. Every little bit helps. We can all be part of the solution.
It's good to know we're not helpless. We can actually do something.
We can. The more we understand about how these guys operate, the better we can fight back.
This has been really eye-opening. Any last thoughts for our listeners before we wrap up?
Yeah. It's easy to forget, but these aren't just numbers. These are real people whose lives have been destroyed by these awful crimes. These are often the most vulnerable people in our society. They need our help.
It's important to remember that. This has given us all a lot to think about. Hopefully our listeners feel like they can do something to help. We'll be right back after a quick break. It's true, numbers can feel so abstract. We got to remember the human side of this.
Right. And that's why it's so important to stay engaged. Even small things like talking to your friends about this stuff can make a difference. All those little actions add up.
So what can our listeners do? What would be the most helpful?
We talked about educating ourselves, reporting anything that seems off, supporting the organizations, doing the work on the ground, being super careful online. Every step helps.
It's about protecting ourselves, but also about protecting people who are more vulnerable.
Absolutely. If we work together, we can make this world a safer place. A world where this kind of exploitation just doesn't exist.
This deep dive has been a lot. We covered the scary trends in trafficking, the money laundering side of it, how these networks work, and what we can all do.
I hope you feel like you can take action. Even just talking about it with people you know, that's huge.
It all starts with awareness. And remember, if you or someone you know needs help, there are places you can turn to. Organizations like the National Human Trafficking Hotline and the Polaris Project are there for you.
Before we go, think about this. How can you use your own skills, your own voice to fight this? Maybe it's staying informed and spreading the word, or maybe it's volunteering. Or even bigger things like pushing for changes in laws or supporting new ideas.
Everyone has something to contribute.
Exactly. If we all understand the connection between human trafficking and financial crime, and we work together, we can really change things.
This has been an amazing conversation. Thank you for joining us. Remember, knowledge is power. Use it to make a difference.